All right, everyone. Hello, hello. We are live. As you can see, I'm not in my office. I'm on vacation and I'm with you on vacation. So let's have some fun today, okay? All right. So lots of learning, lots of things planned for this 1 hour. So I appreciate you being here. All right. Do me a favor to make sure you can hear me. Could you put your name or where you're calling from, where you're located in the chat? So I can see some of it here. All right. Okay. So I have Emmanuel from Philadelphia. I have Patricia, Crystal, Sylvia, Jimmy, Glenn, James. All right. Let's see. Douglas. Welcome, Douglas. All right. Olive, Dave. All right. Somebody from Florida. Steve from Florida. Mel from Texas. All right. We have a great group tonight. Yeah. Phoenix, Arizona, Bakersfield, Dallas, Texas, North Carolina, Maryland, Pennsylvania, Washington, D.C., California, all right, Westport, Sacramento. All right, in the house. Moreno Valley. All right. Peggy, Ashley from Orlando. All right, welcome everyone. Hey, thank you for joining me today. And today I have a hopefully another incredibly inspiring um, 60 minutes with you. And what I want to share with you is I had a student that asked me that he was coming into our program and he said, Peter, can you relate to us? Can you relate to where I am? Right. And I said, let's talk about that. Where are you? So he went on to share with me where he was, his whole story, and it was very inspiring and incredible. And he says, Peter, I'm in the program because I can totally relate to you. And I'm like, great. I said, what could you relate to? He says, you mentioned, what your why was. And I was wondering which why, because I have a lot. And I figured tonight I'm going to ask you, what is your why? Because knowing your why drives you, right? It drives your passion. If you don't know your why, I wonder if you're just wandering in this world. Well, I discovered that when you know your why causes you to change. And also, I connect, change to either being inspired or disgusted where you are, right? That causes change. And knowing your why allows you to make that change. And I recall one of my first whys was when my wife, my ex-wife, from a long time ago, when my son was a baby, she left us, and he was 18 months old, and she just got up and just gone, right? And just left us. And before she left, she said, Peter, you will fail in life, and I will take back our son, and you'll never see him again. That is a strong why, right? When you always wanted to have a son, and here's this person that you still love telling you that she's leaving you and she's going to take her son, and you're going to fail in life. So that inspired me to change. Okay. This the second why I had was after she divorced me. I was just struggling in life, right? Be honest with you, I was depressed for like 2 years, right? That I was in love and she just left us. Okay. And so I went home to visit my parents, and one older neighbor that I looked up to, his name was Derek. I looked up to him. He knocked on the door, and I answered, "Hey, Derek, how you doing?" And he told me this. He goes, "Oh, Peter, I see that you're here. You're back home, huh?" And then I see that your career's not going well. You're divorced. You could lose your son. You're a single parent. And he goes, and you're doing well, huh? And then when he said that, I was taken aback. Is he making fun of me? Right? He was making fun of me, right? Where I was in life. So I went back home to my apartment, and in front of my desk, I was still in college. I put down RD in front of my desk, really, really small letters, so no one can see it except for me. And RD was remember Derek. So I'll never forget what he did to me, right? So because what he did to me was bad, it actually turned out to be good because I needed to be inspired. to change where I was in life. Okay. And the third why, this was kind of hurtful, right? So as I started recovering from the divorce and everything, and I was finishing up school and just doing the best I can. I had two jobs, and my son was in preschool, and I still had school trying to graduate. And then my son, who's a little kid, he goes, Daddy, why are we always so broke? Right? He told me that, right? Man, that hurt me, right? Because here I am, I'm the man of the family, I'm in charge of taking care of him, I'm the provider in the home, and he tells me, why are we so broke? Right? I didn't have an answer for him. I just I just took it all in and I go, wow. Okay, so I could either use that to inspire me or make me spiral into depression that I'm not taking care of what I should be taking care of. So I use that as inspiration, and so those are three whys that really drives me. So my question to you is, what drives you? What's your why? Okay. Today I have another why because your whys are in chapters of your life. Today my why is my wife, right? I met with my wife in Bible study after I totally gave up getting married, totally gave up. And then she disappears. And make a long story short, we got married. And my wife is incredible. You see her, she's so beautiful. She takes care of me. She inspires me. She encourages me, challenges me. So she's the perfect one for me, right? I would not be doing all of this if it wasn't for her. She gave me the oomph to do the best before I leave this earth, right? So sometimes we have these negative whys that disgust you and cause you to change, and sometimes we have these positive whys that inspire you, right? Like my wife, right? So tonight, my goal is to inspire you to change, right? Some of you have been watching my videos for a long time, but once the video is over, you don't do anything, right? Why is that, right? It's not because you're lazy, it's because you don't have possibly a roadmap, all right? So tonight, I want to inspire you with a roadmap. I want to talk about one item on the roadmap on tonight, and that is how to negotiate a commercial deal. Okay, I'm going to jump into it right now. All right, so I'm going to start off like I always do with a couple of polls. I'm going to run those right here. All right, and so just remember what I mentioned. So let me know if you have time. Put in the chat what's your why. Okay, and by the way, I read everything in the chat. Once they're over here, we probably have a couple of hundred answers. I go through them after this call. So I would like to hear your why. Okay, your why is very important to me. Okay, let's go to a poll. All right, so let's do this poll here. All right. Okay, I'm going to relaunch it. Whoops, I need to go back. Let's do this here. All right, tonight's about negotiating. All right, all right, all right. Here's the poll, right? When it comes to negotiating a commercial deal, okay, where are you right now? Do you feel confident and ready to negotiate? Do you understand the basics but haven't done it yet? Are you nervous and don't know what to say, or you avoid negotiating altogether? Right? Put it in the answer in the poll here. Let's see where you are. Okay. Looks like I'm nervous and don't know what to say. That's 42%. Close behind is I understand the basics, but haven't done it yet. Okay. All right. So tonight, I'm going to solve all that tonight. Okay. We're going to learn about negotiating tonight. So thank you for answering that poll. I have a second poll on the run that's going to help me too. And here's the poll here. Okay. Here's the poll. All right. There it is. All right. So, have you ever found a deal that you liked but didn't move forward because you weren't confident negotiating? Right? Put that in there. All right. So, oh, wow. Look at this. No, I haven't found a deal yet. All right. Yes, once or twice. Um, okay. Yes, multiple times. Okay, great. Now, the answers here, it really confirmed what I prepared tonight is perfect. Okay, so I want you to listen in what we talk about tonight. I'm going to thank you for answering in the poll. All right. Okay. And by the way, I see some of those awesome answers of your why in the chat here. Someone said their daughters, and that's awesome. Today, I have a guest from you. His name is Kennon, one of our students. Wait until you hear his why. Powerful. Then you see his results. Okay. If Kenyon didn't know his why, he probably wouldn't be on the show and he probably wouldn't be able to share his results. Okay. I want you to, so in a few minutes, I'm going to share his story with you. He will come on and you can even ask him questions. Okay. All right. End this poll. Okay. So now what I'm going to do is go into our presentation on negotiating. All right. So let me go there real quick. Give me a second. There we go. Okay, there we go. Boom, boom. And there we go. All right. And let me go into my current slide. There we go. All right. Okay. Okay. So look at this. We're on episode 18. So thank you guys for just encouraging me to do this 18 times for you. All right. So I'm so inspired. Okay, so today is all about negotiating cash flow commercial deals for beginners, confidently getting the upper hand. And the key word today is confident. So by the time I'm done here, you will be confident on how to negotiate a deal. Okay, all right. We did our quick poll. All right, so I have a new game today. It's called the Negotiation Simulator. So where you get to make your move. I'm going to present a negotiation situation to you, and you get to answer. Okay. All right. Here's the first step of negotiating. First of all, as you all know, in commercial, you have to do your homework first. Okay. In three specific areas. The first area is research the market. Okay. Vacancy rates, employment, local cap rates. Then you move on to researching the property, current rents, any repairs on the property, if the rents can go up. And thirdly, we have to research the seller, right? How long have they owned it? Are they local or out of state? All three things are part of your homework because knowledge is your greatest negotiating weapon. Okay, this is easy to do. It takes time, but it's easy to do. Okay, so step one. Now here's the game. Here is your move. Okay, all right. So you're going to put the answers in the chat here, right? If the seller says, I've owned the property for 30 years, this most likely means what? Okay, I'm going to bring up my chat again. This most likely means what? Okay, you have a choice, A, B, or C. The loan is paid off and creative financing may be negotiated. B, the windows need replacing, or C is cash flows low. Give me an answer, A, B, or C. All right, I see a lot of A's there. I see some B's. All right, I see some C's. All right, let me try the answer. Okay, and when a seller says, Peter, I've owned a property for 30 years, and you know what this means to me? That he has no mortgage on the property, and that's an open window for creative financing. Okay, so this is how it works, right? You ask a question, you research the owner, you ask the question, he gives you this answer. In the back of your mind, you're thinking, this is potential for seller financing. Okay, all right, let's go to step number 2 here. Step number 2 is uncover the seller's true motivation. You all will always hear me. Once we understand the seller's motivation and we have a motivated seller and a motivated buyer, beautiful things can happen. Okay, because every seller has a story and your job is to find it. Now, the biggest obstacle I have here is new students are like, Peter, once I meet the seller, what do I do? Right? I don't know what to do, right? So I have this formula. It's called the Ford formula. Okay. FORD stands for family, occupation, recreation, and dreams. Here's how it works. It's so easy. So when you meet a seller, just think of Ford, FORD. Okay. So when you're in front of them, ask him about his family. So, Mr. Seller, so who owns this property? Is it just you and your family? Is it you or is it just you and your family? Okay, start talking with them. And then, occupation, Mr. Seller, so what do you do for a living besides owning this wonderful property? Okay, recreation is, Mr. Seller, what do you do for fun while you're not, managing this property? And then D is, Mr. Seller, what are your dreams once you sell this property? You see how easy that is? If you just think of FORD, Okay, that's how you get the seller's true motivation. That's all you need is FORD to start pulling it out. Okay, once we have the seller motivations, guess what we do? We structure the deal around the motivation. Okay, very important, very easy to do. Okay, all right. Next is the game, your move. If the seller says, I really want to sell, but I don't want to pay huge capital gains taxes, what does this mean? Put in the chat. Does it mean A, the seller is in trouble with the IRS, or B, the seller is burnt out and moving to Tahiti, or C, this is an opportunity to negotiate a master lease agreement? Okay, tell me, which one is that? Okay, and the chat. Okay, you're blowing up the chat and everyone's putting in C. That is the correct answer. Do you see what I mean now? That when you listen to the seller, you're very attentive, very present, and they start sharing these type of things with you, you can take their motivation and their words and then reconstruct a deal. Okay, so now you can see that. Okay, all right, let's go on to the next one. All right, this is step 3, establish your take price. This is very important. Your take price is the highest price you are willing to pay. Okay, it's the highest price where you'll take the deal. That's your take price. Okay, you need to know the take price so that we call this your walkaway number. Know your walkaway number before you walk in, right? So your goal is it says here, take price equals your absolute minimum based on your underwriting. And then your offer will be your initial offer equals your take price minus your minus 5 or 10% of the price. Okay. So this gives you a floor that you're going to start with and the ceiling, which is your take price. And then if you look at the green zone, that's anything in between here is a win. Do you get this? Right? So this is where you're anchoring yourself first. Put in the chat to make sure everyone's getting this, right? Establish your take price. Put in the chat if you're getting this, or do you need to explain this more? Put in the chat. Okay, thank you. Thank you. Okay, let's get to the game here. All right, here's your move. If your take price is $1 million, but the seller is adamant on selling for 1.25, do you A, send him a counteroffer of 1.175? B, stick with your take price, or C, send the seller season football tickets? What's the answer? Put it in the chat. All right, put in the chat. All right. Everyone's putting in B. I do see some A's. You would not send him if your take price is $1 million, remember, you're not going over. So the answer is not A, it's B. Okay, it's B. Remember, your take price is the highest price where you take the deal. You're not going any higher. So you're going to start lower so you can negotiate anything in between. Okay, got it? All right, good answer. All right, bunch of B's. Thank you. All right, let's move on to step 4. Step 4 is my favorite. This is meeting the seller in person. A cup of coffee can be worth $70,000. Okay, negotiating by phone or text or email allows negative perceptions to build, right? So when you meet face to face with the seller, you create this human connection, and it unlocks getting a lower price and creative financing. Okay, and I share this story about a student here. He was deadlocked at $775,000. I told him to fly out there, meet the seller because it was a great deal, it was worth doing. They walked the property together. They got the coffee, and guess what the student did? He understood the seller's motivation by using our techniques. He came back, got on a coaching call with me, and the end price was $705. Okay, so 2 hours, and he saved $70,000. Okay, so he made $35,000 an hour by meeting the seller in person. I would say that's worth his $1,000 airfare and hotel fee. All right. Okay. Here's the game here. Okay. Your move. If the seller has agreed to meet you this Saturday at their property, do you use A, the Tesla method, B, the Ford method, or C, the Heimlich maneuver? All right. I better not get any C's here. All right. Okay. The Ford method. Okay. All right. Family, occupation, recreation, right? Dreams. That's so easy to get to know the seller. So easy. Okay, so easy. Great answer. Great answers. All right. I can tell you're paying attention. I appreciate you guys so much. All right. Now, put in the chat. Are you guys starting to see this? That negotiation can be learned no matter who you are. Put in the chat so I know that you understand this. Okay. Okay. Some yeses. All right. Yes. Thank you. Someone says absolutely. Thumbs up. Awesome. Awesome. Okay. Let's go to step number 5. Okay. Step number 5 is to bulletproof your contract with contingencies. Okay. Even though you are negotiating a deal, you have to do some things that protect you. Okay. You have what I call non-negotiables, and here they are right here. So the four non-negotiables are what we call contract contingencies. These are things that once you're under contract and something happens, you can back out and get your money back. Okay, you got to have these. And they are inspection contingency. You get 30 days to inspect the property. You have a finance contingency. You get 30 to 45 days to get the loan. You have a title contingency. And then lastly, which are not on any commercial contracts except for ours, we're so adamant, is an appraisal contingency. Okay, if the property does not appraise for the contract price, you can get out. Brokers don't like that. Okay, they want to lock you in. Sellers don't like it. Don't like it. They want to lock you in. These are 4 non-negotiables. Okay, if you don't have them, you could be in big trouble. Okay, now also when you have these 4 contingencies, the sellers will see you as having your game together. Okay, they'll see you as being a smart investor. It says here in the bottom of the screen, your competency builds respect with the seller. So you show him that you're not a rookie, even though you are. Okay. All right. Here's the game here. All right. Your move. What's that risk if you are missing one of the 4 contract contingencies, right? What if you don't have the inspection contingency, the finance contingency, the title or appraisal? What's that risk? Okay. A, you may lose your earnest money deposit. B, your auto warranty, or C, an upset spouse. Which one is it? All right. So I see the answers. Someone who's married put down A and C. Okay. The answer is A, but if you're married, it could be A and C. Okay. All right. Very good. Very good. All right. Let's move on to step number 6. This is one of my favorites. Okay. The power of walking away. Okay. The power of walking. This is purely psychological. We do this with our students all the time. And I want you to pay attention to this one. Okay. Okay. Let's pay attention here. It says, once under contract and a few weeks have passed, sellers have psychologically closed the deal in their mind. Okay, in their mind, the properties, the money that they're making is already spent on them retiring. Right, they're going to buy a new property, or they're giving money to their grandkids. Okay, so just imagine being under contract. Okay, and then you and the seller hit it off. You have a great relationship. And then he's already knows, okay, Peter's going to buy my property. And he's thinking, wow, I get to give my grandkids some money. I'm going to buy I'm going to buy another property, right? I get to retire, right? All this is in his mind because we're under contract and we're headed towards closing. So point number 3 is when you come back to renegotiate, they don't want to lose a deal and have their dreams vanish. So guess what? This is exactly how you get the seller to concede when there's repairs needed on the property or we need to reduce the price. Okay, so they've already spent the money in their head. So don't be afraid to walk away because they don't want you to walk away because you're going to blow away their dreams. Okay, so there's power in walking away. Okay, just like most of you, when you went to your car dealership and you wanted to buy a car and you walked out of the dealership, right? Because they wouldn't give you a good deal and they come running back. Same thing here. Same thing. It works very, very well. Okay. All right. Let's go on to the game. All right. Your move. Okay. What's your next move? Okay. So you are under contract on a 16-unit building. The seller is highly motivated. In fact, he put a down payment on a house in Hawaii. Okay. And he's moving there 30 days after closings. But you reveal on the inspections, you find 2 broken air conditioning units. And today, you all, AC units cost a lot of money. So to replace two of them is $12,000. Okay, and these are small ones. So is it A, had the seller replace them before closing? B, request a $12,000 credit for air conditioners? Or C, ask for a $12,000 price reduction? What's your move? Put it in the chat. Give me your move here. All right, so I see some A's, I see some C's, I see A, B, and C. Oh, I see some A's, B, and C. Okay, here's the correct answer. All of them. Okay, so my point here is you're going to get something. Okay, you're going to get something. So you're going to have the seller fix it, right? Or you're going to get a 12,000 credit at closing, meaning that $12,000 come off of your down payment, or you're going to get the price reduced by $12,000. You're getting something. Okay. All right. So that's your move because again, remember this seller needs to sell, right? He's moving to Hawaii, right? He already put a down payment on the house, right? He's moving in 30 days. He called the U-Haul truck. He's ready to go. He is not going to let you go and lose his contract for $12,000. Okay. So you're getting something. That's why I didn't give any option. There's no option D, none of the above. You're getting something. Okay. All right, let's go to step number 7, the power of silence. This is one of my favorites. Okay, so here's the situation. Let's say the seller wants a price that's this high, but you figure I have sales comparables. I checked with my coach and it's only worth this much. Okay, and you can bring him the data. So you bring the seller the data, right? So seller, based upon these two properties that are next door to your place, they sold for this amount and you're asking for this amount, right? And then you say, am I missing something? And just be quiet. Let him talk first, okay? Because the person who talks first is probably going to lose, okay? So when there's silence, the seller gets uncomfortable and they will fill the silence with, okay, Peter, I see what you're saying. And that's all we want. We need to get him off of this price, okay? By reasoning with him, with good data and being quiet, okay? Don't talk yourself out of negotiating because you talk too much, okay? Silence is power, okay? So here's the game. All right. Is there a scenario where you'd pay either at market price or slightly above the market price? Is there a situation? Put a yes or no and explain your answer, right? Which one would you do? Is there a situation where you'd pay an at market price or slightly above? Would you? All right. I see some answers. I see some yes, some no's. All right. Yeah, okay. Okay, you're halfway in between. The answer is yes. And here when you're negotiating, you may want to pay market price or slightly above in one situation. Sometimes the sellers have owned the property for a long time. He's an old guy and he hasn't raised the rents in 10 years. So you can see in the future that you can raise the rents and force the appreciation, make it worth this much more, and make the cash flow go through the roof. In that case, I would pay market price or just slightly above. Okay, I'm going to bring that to light too to kind of balance out the negotiations. Okay, sometimes you concede if you see there's upside. Okay, all right, let's go to the 8th and final one here. All right, here's the 8th and final one, and it is I'll give you your price if you give me my terms. Okay, here's the situation, right? The seller wants $1 million, but your math says it's only worth 800,000, right? You agree to $1 million only if you can do seller financing and make the deal wonderful. Okay. Our company, I hate to brag, but I'm going to brag on our company. We are the best in creative financing for commercial real estate. We have some of the most creative people here. We have some of those creative techniques that we've created and even took the ones that already existed and blew them up. Okay. So because price is what you pay, but the terms that you get determines your profit. Okay. I stole that from Warren Buffett, by the way. Okay. All right, the greatest investor of all time. So you give them the price, you take the terms, and that's how you win. Okay. So here's the game. All right, this is a go and no go. Okay, the game that you all love. Right. So watch this here. You have a 12-unit multifamily property with the rent upside. The seller wants $1 million, and it was appraised for 900,000. Okay, you agree. Okay, again, it's no go or go go. Okay, no or go or no go. You agree to $1 million using a master lease agreement. Okay, with 10% down payment, 5% interest only payments for 5 years. This is your deal to him. Okay, you did it. Okay, now you overpaid by $115,000, but the cash on cash day one is 18%. At the end of 5 years, you believe it'll be worth 1.4 million. Is this a go or no go? All right, let me go back. All right, I see a lot of goes, goes. Yes, yes. Okay, I see a lot of goes. Thank you. Yes. Ladies and gentlemen, this is what we do in our mentoring program. We find deals just like this. Okay, and we construct deals like this through masterful negotiation. This is what we do. Nearly all of our deals they don't do a master lease, but we get great deals at a price under market with the ability to raise the rents to force appreciation, and they're in great neighborhoods. Okay, you always hear me say that the best deals are not found; they are created. Okay, you start by doing great negotiations. Okay. All right, everyone. All right. So I'm done with that session. Did you guys have fun with that? Put it in the chat. Was this useful for you? Okay, great. Great. Wonderful. Okay. Now I'm going to get to my part. Get to talk to one of my favorite people. His name is Kennon. He's one of our students. And I'm going to bring him on. And he's just an incredibly cool guy. You have to meet him. His property is great. He has a great life story. And he is so relatable. Okay. So relatable. All right. So let's bring on Kennon if we can. All right. Let's bring him on. All right. Waiting for Ken. There he is. All right. How you doing,
Here I am.
Kenny?
Good, Peter. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. Hey, thanks for being here with us. I know you just got off of work, so thank you for making time for us. And ladies and gentlemen, this is Kenan. And here's the property that Kenan bought. It's a 7-unit property. It's a mixed-use property. We have 6 units residential, and we have one commercial space. Look at this beauty. Look at this beauty. It's in Texas, by the way. Okay, look at this. Look at this. And Kenyon did none of this work, by the way. Everyone, the previous owner did all of this work.
Yeah,
Okay, so
yeah.
he overdid it on this property for Kenyon's benefit, right? And more about this property. Look at the kitchen, just beautiful. And here's the one commercial space with an electrical tenant, right? And Kenan, what did you pay for this property? What was the purchase price?
After we're all was said and done, 525.
Yeah, look at this here, ladies and gentlemen. Look at this. So he purchased it for 525, right? And if you look over to the right with a red arrow, right? The at closing on December 1st, 2025, it appraised for 630. So before Kenan even owned it, okay, he walked in with $105,000 of instant equity. Okay. This can only be done by doing stuff off market. Okay. So you have to get good at doing off market deals, and that's what we specialize in. Right. So yeah, just wonderful, wonderful. So Kenan, 7 units, there's a 3,000 square foot penthouse, right? The going in cap rate, 9.44, market cap rate 6.5, right? Just incredible. Kenan, talk to us about this street here. What's happening on the street near the property?
That is West Texas Avenue in Baytown, and that's the art district. And there's been a significant amount of city money put into that. They've been upgrading, and you can see the brick sidewalks, and that's extended to our front door, actually. So right now they're finishing up the street in front of our building, and it's extending down. And yeah, they have a lot of city events there, Christmas in the park and stuff like that, parades.
Okay, that's great. And Kenan, you mentioned to me earlier that in this district, you're the only multifamily property. Is that right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. That's correct. Yeah,
Wow.
everything else is business. It's all commercial, and we have the only multifamily building there.
Awesome. Awesome. All right. I wonder what that meant for your rents.
Yeah, yeah. We try to keep it pretty reasonable, but we brought them the ones that have turned over. We brought those rents up. So I mean, the plan that we had in the beginning is working out. So we're actually had a range of what we were looking for. So we're starting out at the top, and we're getting multiple applications. So I mean, our vacancy's been filled there. So it's worked out pretty
Yeah,
well.
that's great. Hey, Kenan, I'm looking at the chat and someone brought up something I should bring up. They're wondering, how did you fund it? So where did the down payment come from?
So my down payment came from a retirement account. I've been in construction. Um, I started out in the field. I'm not a college graduate. I worked my way up, and then over time, as I got older, I'm a little over 40 now, but I started looking at um, what the market looks like. I mean, everybody's concerned about whether or not they'll have enough, how much they need to be socking away. And I've told you before, no matter what you put in there, when you're in the stock market, you're a passenger. So you have no control over what these businesses are going to do. You're just hoping you pick a good one. And that's
Yeah,
that's why I decided this isn't something that I bought on the side. This isn't a hobby. This is an investment. So I took money out of an investment and I turned it into a different type of investment where I have more control over it.
yeah. Great, great. Okay. And look at this slide here, Kenan. I want to stop here and just for a second. And the question is, as you heard earlier, 20 minutes ago, I talked about knowing your why. And when I see this picture of you and Riley and your kids and your dogs, I just think of this question I want to ask you that you can share. Kenan, what's your why?
You're looking at it. That's it. So I came from pretty you know meager background. We weren't in nobody in my family was in construction. Nobody in my family was any type of property investor or anything like that. So I'm just learning new tricks, trying to support these people you see in the picture here. I got two adult kids too, and they're watching and getting involved as well.
Yeah, and Kenan, we had a great conversation the other day. So, what impact has this deal done to your family?
Um, well, it's new. It's new to everybody. So my oldest son he has retirement. He's been socking away. I mean, he's only 27, but he started out putting away in his 401k, and he's got some money saved up, and he's dead set on investing in property. My daughter, my second child, she's 25 now. She got married a year ago and had my first grandkid, and she's already made a shift. She's actually in a real estate class right now, kind of getting the bug, I guess. She wants to get involved with
Mhm.
it. Though my boy on the left there, he's in his second year of college. He's finishing up um, his associate's degree. He wants to pursue the same path. So he's actually been discussing with my daughter about the path she's going. Those other two boys are interested in the real estate game, and our little girl goes with us to the property and helps out. She loves going to the building. She's
Wonderful.
pretty psyched about it.
Yeah, awesome, awesome. So, two adopted kids.
Yeah, our two youngest. Yes.
All right, awesome. And tell us about your two adopted fur babies. So, you have a business of helping veterans or something like that with your dogs. What was that business?
Uh, we run a dog training business. My wife runs it full time. She was a teacher for 13 years. Kind of wanted to get out of that business. We did some, searching, trying to figure out something she could do that she would enjoy. We come up with this, got her master certified in 2017. She's been running it since. And about a year or two into, we discussed if we ever, do something, we're blessed like that. We want to bless somebody else. We were going to look for something, some sort of philanthropic cause, and it ended up we made connections with an organization called Val 22. They're a veteran suicide prevention organization. And
Mm,
what we do is we work with them. We actually take dogs in from rescues. We train them up, um, and they find veterans through an application process they have. And those veterans get matched with a dog that we've trained for them. So we do specialized training for veterans with mobility issues or PTSD, sorry, and
Wow,
issues like that. So
amazing.
trying to help
Uh,
out.
yeah, thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, do you see how I told you before this Kenan is so relatable? Put in the chat if you can relate to Kenan's story. Put in the chat, okay? If you can relate in the chat. Yes, yeah, relatable. Yes, totally. Yeah, they can totally relate to that. Um, so Kenan, you know how this all started when you called us. You said you and Riley, you know, your wife was driving around, and you kind of said like, why not us, right? Somebody owned this building. So what shifted to make you go from why not us to actually doing it?
I think we recognize that, what the business helped with, the dog training business, it kind of freed her, um, helped her control her schedule. So, I mean, it wasn't really about money as much as it was about time. So,
Mm,
we were just kind of looking for the next thing. And I think we were just, I don't even remember where we were or what we were talking about, but I mean, I just remember we were just driving down the road and it's like all these buildings, each one of these buildings, somebody owns it, they're collecting rent.
mhm,
Um,
mhm.
and I mean, what's the deal? I mean, how do they get into it, and why can't it be us? But to be perfectly honest, I mean, I didn't have anybody really to lean on to get that inside information. I think most people out there who are investors don't want competition. They may not tell you too much about it. So that's when we just kind of started looking around and searching, social media, YouTube, like a lot of people do when they want to get into a business, start looking around, and eventually we found you.
Yeah, awesome. And one thing you mentioned too is, you know, you mentioned about years of making your employer all this money. You're like, it's our turn, right?
Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah, yeah. So I mean, I working my way up through the ranks. I mean, I gathered a lot of practical knowledge, and we were able to apply that in big projects for the federal government. That's who I work for as a contractor. Um, and in those types of contracts, especially really big contracts, occasionally you run into litigation and stuff like that. And I've gotten letters of accolade, just on our record keeping, catching problems before they grew bigger, stuff like that. And the frustrating, everybody wants to be great at their craft, but the frustrating part was looking back at that, realizing, my paycheck just stays the same. I get a little 2.5, 3% raise every year, but I mean, it's making somebody money. It's not making me a lot of money. I certainly pay the bills, but it wasn't providing us the freedom that we really wanted. And to know that if something happened to me today, or tomorrow, it's just business. I would be replaced. There would be somebody else in there taking over, and that would be that. But I don't want to continue in that W-2 mentality of just constantly, trying to help other people advance, try to help other people, make great margins, and then turn around and not get a raise the following year. Those you're just, again, you kind of feel like you're a passenger in that process.
Yeah,
You're kind
yeah.
of limited what you can do there.
Someone's saying here they're tired of living paycheck to paycheck. So,
Yeah.
Kenan, when you close on your seven unit property, you compared this property to like a Charles Schwab brokerage account, right? Where you say now I have control. So walk us through that thought.
Well, I heard a slogan, I guess it's probably in the industry. I heard a long time ago when I first kind of started looking at this. It's not when you sell, it's when you buy. That's where you make your money. So going into something, I mean, I knew that, normally when I'm in, a meeting with a group of folks or my employees, I feel like I'm the authority. I know what I'm talking about. I've been through the system, and I know how this works. But when it comes to property, I'm like, I can't just go talk to these owners and ask them to help me along, and I'm setting myself up for failure there. So I know going through your course, well, let me start with the YouTube stuff like you got going on now. I mean, you can put together about 80, 85% of it, but I mean, that's not going to be enough to get the deal done, and I'm telling you, it's not. Um, the vast majority of what I needed to close this all happened after I signed up with you, and that's just being honest. There was just information that's not available to everybody. I know the stuff that I was looking at I hadn't seen before. Um, so just knowing how to deal, how to write up the deal, knowing what to expect, being able to recognize a property that's either undervalued or it's undermanaged, it's not being leveraged like it should. Being able to look at the rents, asking, having at least the courage to ask somebody for their P&L statements, and their leases,
Yeah.
and then have them send it to you. I mean, they were confident enough in what I was saying to send all that to me. But I've been through that a few times with a few properties now, so I had a few under my belt before I went into this one. But being able to talk to a guy who owns properties himself, and I mean,
Yeah.
talk the lingo, understand what the next step was, under and drive, not just follow along with what the seller wanted to do, but kind of push this deal through. And um,
Yeah.
I mean, that's it's different to have that kind of leverage over what you're trying to
Hmm.
do. And to me, I mean, when we look at the rents that we're bumping up to now, instant equity, that the equity that we closed with was almost as much as my down payment. So I mean,
Yeah.
those are the types of things that you're going to have a real hard time doing unless you're super lucky. I mean, you're just going to have a hard time knowing all that information to be able to close
Yeah.
a deal like that.
So, Kenan, how did you're a beginner and you joined our program, and this seller is what we call sophisticated, right? And so, what are some things that made you confident that you can go up against this seller, right? And then
Right.
secondly, name one negotiating incident that you went through.
Um, Well, what gave me confidence is on the front end, kind of having an idea what the market was. So before I even went and talked to him, I knew what the cap rate was in that area. I knew what the potential was for rents. So I kind of had an idea what the building was worth, but he kind of took that position of, what you contacted me. What do you want to offer? So
Mhm.
I looked at what I thought market rents would be, along with the cap rate. Um, did the math we need to do to take away the expenses of what I assume the expenses should be on average, and I gave him a number. And I mean, and I'll be honest, it was 609 at first, which
Mm.
kind of ended up almost dead on the money with the evaluation there, the appraisal. And then once he sent me the rents, I realized he was a little low on a few things. I also realized some of his expenses were kind of high, and some of those could be mitigated. There wasn't a real good use of some of the extra square footage in the building. So I mean, just
Mm.
just knowing that on the front end made me confident in being able to shoot a number, and he could have shot it down, but he wanted to talk about it. So it was off market. He wasn't entertaining any other um, buyers, but he had some investments that he wanted to make. He did have a mortgage on it, so we pursued, like you mentioned a while ago about seller finance, which would have been great, but he did have a mortgage on it, and he knew what he
Mm.
needed to get on top of that. So I was just, chit chatting with him and talking shop, and the guy, I guess he felt comfortable about what we were talking about. Now, once we locked in at 550 and we went under contract, we did the inspection. Of course, the inspection revealed a few things. Nothing terribly scary, but the AC systems were beyond their expected
Mhm.
lifespan. So I had a AC company give me an estimate on replacing the ones that were older. And I basically come at him and told him, if we that and the roof had some issues that needed some repairs, but I said, if we're looking at this at around $50,000 worth of repairs, that's almost 10% of the purchase price of the property, and you've gotten by with it, you've gotten this many years out of it, which that worked out great for you, but now you're handing this equipment off to me with a lot of miles on it. And I asked him if he would split that with me, and he ended up doing that. So we ended up coming down to 525.
Okay, so we went from $609,000 asking price
Mhm.
down to 550 negotiated price. And then after our inspection, we have part two of negotiations where we got a price reduction for the ACs down to 525, correct?
Correct. Yes, sir.
And then before closing, we got the appraisal, and the appraisal came in at 630, right?
Correct. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Right.
Yeah,
Okay,
the
great.
lender held on to that. The lender held on to that appraisal for a while till after we were closed. I don't think they wanted to give it to me. I was kind of having to badger him, but I eventually got it. But we ended up doing a
Yeah.
30-year term on that building, and cash flows right where we needed it.
Okay, great. And we have a saying in our company, and I mentioned a few minutes ago, that the best deals are not just found, they're created. So what did you see in this 7 unit, right? What's the upside in 7 unit? So walk us through the upside and what the property will be worth once you're done.
So I know, the first look at it, it's an older building. Um, there was a significant amount of construction going on in front of it. They had the entire street and the drainage tore up in front of it. Um, but I could see, not having a lot of curb appeal at least for the next several months. So, and that's kind of what I talked about. It's going to be in this condition for a little while before they finally finish this project. So there was a way to kind of negotiate down a little bit there, and he was kind of. It sounds like when I prompted him about the sale, he was interested in making this investment that he wanted to do. So suddenly he was kind of motivated. So that was helpful in bringing it down. But then the upside, I saw the rest of the street from that corner where my building is down. It's all been completely, and you got pictures of it. I mean, it's beautiful.
Hmm. Hmm.
And that's part of a multi-million-dollar project from the city, and that Brunson movie theater is a private investor. So you have
Hmm.
private money going into these buildings that are trying to spruce it up, and they seem like they're really trying to bring the town together. So I could see the future plans, I could see the future appeal. There's a college right down the road from there, about 6 or 7 blocks away. And I've already worked a deal with them. They lease 2 of my units at above market
Awesome.
price on
Wow.
those. And we have
Nice.
a hospital about 2 miles away from there, a big hospital. And that's part of the future plan. If we need to, I'm gonna see if they have traveling nurses and see about maybe some midterm rents that would, of course, charge a little bit more.
Great. And you and I were looking at the numbers the other day. So we have our actual side where the numbers are at today. And then once you get all the rents up, which you're just about done with that. And then we have an extra space on the side that belongs to you that we're going to convert into a commercial space. So
Mhm.
once we're all done with that, you mentioned 18 months. What would it be worth then?
What we're looking at with the cap rate where it is right now, a pretty modest evaluation is about 1.1.
Okay. So, ladies and gentlemen, we talked about your why and establishing a legacy for your family and doing it for your family. This is a great deal. So doing something huge for your family to leave a legacy doesn't have to be a $5 million property. It can be a
No.
property like this, where Kenyon owes 300,000 and in a couple of years, he's going to create $700,000 in equity. This is his first deal. Okay, his first deal. Imagine where Kenyon will be in a couple of years. Imagine. So this is what's possible. Right. So, Kenan, for someone sitting on the sidelines, just kind of waiting, wondering, maybe intimidated with negotiating, right? And waiting is very costly, right? And you talked
Yeah.
about you regret not starting sooner. How would you encourage that person to get started and do what you do?
There's more than just my way of doing it. I mean, you don't have to work for 15, 20 years and saving up your retirement to actually have money to do this. I mean, there are, I was very surprised with how many other ways you can do this, especially with an assignment. You can wholesale, you can get a couple of those deals under your belt. If you know the information and you know how to negotiate a deal, you can hand that off to somebody else and walk away with 20, 30, $40,000 worth of commission on each one of them, and you're not out anything. I mean, you get your deposit back. So I mean, there's ways to do it if you're hungry and want to do it, but there's several avenues to get it done. But waiting costs. I
Yeah.
mean, I don't like to think back about, how much it costs. I mean, because, they tell folks, the best time to invest, like you say, 20 years ago. I mean,
Yeah.
who knows where I'd be if I'd invested 20 years ago and had the access to the information I do now. But you don't have to be a brainiac. I mean, I'm a high school dropout. I didn't go to
Hmm.
college. So I mean,
Hmm.
there's room for everybody in this.
Yeah. That's awesome. So, Keenan, the last question here is, yeah, before joining our program, you mentioned, one of your biggest fears is what to say in front of a seller, right? So
Yeah.
how did our training help you overcome what we call imposter syndrome, right? You probably thinking, I didn't go to college, I'm a high school dropout, I'm a
Hmm.
regular guy, and here's Peter in his commercial program, so, but you're doing it. So how would you encourage or inspire a person who's watching to do what you do, right? How did our coaching program help you do that?
Be serious about it. I mean, if you're going to get into something, set aside time to do it. There's lots of times to sit and watch TV and peruse social media, but set that stuff aside and, at least give yourself some time to actually focus on it. Um, but once you start picking up the concepts and understanding what you're doing and how to do it, and you're devoted, and I mean, don't be afraid to crash and burn. There was a couple of properties I told you, they replied back to me, but then after I dug into it, it was either pushed to the max or it just wasn't a property that we really wanted. And you said underwrite it anyways, pursue it, good
Mhm,
practice. So I kind of went into those situations with nothing to lose. So
mhm.
being able to get out there and get after it, don't wait till you find your dream property to try to negotiate it. You should already be well versed ahead of time, and just put time to it. That's the most important thing.
And that's awesome. And you've been a wonderful student. All I ask for, the best student is to put into work, right? Show up and put into work, right? And you're doing it. All right. So everyone on the chat, let me ask you a question. Can you relate to any of Kennon's story, right? So is Kennon you? Put it in the chat. Is Kennon you? Right? I like to hear, right? Can you relate to Kennon, his story? High school dropout, right? Working, family, beautiful kids, right? Family guy. Can you relate to that? He's an just a he's what all of us are, right? But Kennon has done one thing that perhaps you haven't done yet. He took action, right? And so, what I want to do today is ask you guys a question, right? Who wants to be like Kennon? Who wants to learn more about our program, about what we teach here, and do what Kennon is doing, right? So, I'm going to offer you an opportunity right now. So, let me bring up this quick poll here. 1 second. All right, so here's a poll. All right, so I want you to see that. All right, who would like to learn more about getting mentored by me and my team? Okay, and do what Kenan's does. Right, you can see you don't need a whole lot of money. You don't need to have a college degree. You don't need to be this or that. You just need to have the will to start. Okay, and for me, right, and Kenan, the why. The why is so important. So once you have the why, and then the how to is not so difficult. Okay. The how to is you're looking at them. You're looking at our program. We have the how to. We just want you to get your why because your why drives you. I can't do the analysis for you. I can't force you to get on the coaching calls with me. Your why has to do that. So, who wants to learn more about being mentored by me and my team? And I invite you, if you say yes, right, and you want to learn more, bring your why forward. We want to hear it. All right. And as I said before, at the start of the hour, I'm going to go back and I'm going to rewind all the chat. And I'd like to see all the whys because they are so important to me. Okay. I'll be honest with you. A weak why will give you weak results. Okay. So a strong why, right? You saw Kenan's why. You saw all those beautiful kids on the screen. That's his why, right? My why today in 2026 is my wife, right? She's incredible, right? I'm going to do all I can for her and my family before I leave this earth, right? So I'm doing it right now. That's my why, right? So for some of you, I'm going to end this poll here. So thank you for answering this. Here's a second chance, all right? Let me go back here. And what I want to do with this one here is if you would like to speak to someone tonight to learn more about what we do here, and I want you to do something. If you put now, okay, if you put now, all right, if you want to meet with someone tonight and speak with someone tonight, right, put that in there. Hold on a second. Is the poll working here? Let me go back here. Well, I know what I need to do. Sorry, 1 second here. Okay. All right. I'm going to relaunch this poll. Okay. All right. Here we go. Okay. All right. Who would like to speak with someone tonight? And on this poll, what I want you to do is when you do speak with someone tonight, okay, I want you to share your why. Okay. They're going to write it down. Everybody that comes in the program, we have a section where our person that does the incoming students, I get to see their why. I want to see your why. Okay. And then when you join the program and I get to talk with you the first time, that's going to be my first question because that's going to determine if you're going to be successful or not, if you're going to do your homework or not, right? If you're going to show up week after week, allowing us to mentor you, it's going to be your why. And guess what? As your coach, I'm going to remind you what your why was, okay? Because I need to be reminded. Sometimes Kenan needs to be reminded, we all do, what our why is because life can get so busy. Life can be challenging. But when you have your why, like I said, the how to becomes not so difficult. Okay. So if you want to speak with someone tonight about how mentoring works, how our program works, okay, go ahead and hit now, and someone will reach out and talk with you there. Okay. I'm going to end the poll right here. I'm going to do one last thing here. All right. Give me a second. I'm going to do that. Let me go to here. Give me one other thing I'm going to put here. Let me go back. I'm going to share this screen right here. Okay. So if you can see my screen here, where is it? There we go. All right. All right. Okay. So if you go to this website here, commercialpropertyadvisors.com/coaching, you're going to see a picture of me right here, right? And this is our application. So what you can do is you can complete the form, put in your state. What do you want real estate to do for you, right? Leave a legacy for your family. Help me build a retirement. College tuition for my 2-year-old. Okay. How much do you have available to invest? Any amount. I don't care what the amount is. Your name, okay, your email, phone number, and the bottom, when do you want to connect with us? Call me now and click the yes and click get mentored by me, and then someone will be on it and contact you. Okay, and then we'll be right on it. All right. Okay. All right. So last thing I want to do here is the very last thing is I want to go back to this here. Oh, give me a second here. All right, I'm going to bring up the poll one more time. All right, and just this part here. All right, all right, let me get to it here. I'm going to relaunch this poll. All right, and this is basically, all right, just a reminder of if you want to speak to someone tonight. All right, and if you get a chance to put in now or schedule for later, here's an opportunity to remind yourself on that. Okay. All right. And okay, let's see here. All right, great questions. I'm going to go through this. Hey, some of your questions are great, right? So I spent a lot of time at Kenan. My team is going to take some of these questions and get back to you. Okay, if I couldn't get to them today, we have so much to cover. All right. Okay, everyone, do me a favor, right? Kenan is so grateful and generous of his time. Do me a favor, give Kennon some love here. Tell him thank you, right? Tell him a good job. Give him some encouragement. We all need encouragement, no matter who you are, where you are. We need to be encouragement. So tell him thank you. Awesome job, Kennon. All right, Kennon, look at that love for you there. The chat's blowing up for you. All right. So, Kennon, we appreciate everything that you did for us today. So
Sure.
everyone inspired. Your story is incredible, right? What we're going to do, we're going to turn this segment here into some type of teaching segment because it was so good, so good.
Huh?
This is your story is so real. What you've done is so real, just awesome. So again, I just want to say thank you and Riley. I know that Riley gives you the thumbs up to do all that you do too. I'm married, so I understand,
Absolutely.
right? Yeah. So I know
Yeah.
she's probably in the background but tell Riley thank you from all of us. Okay, myself, my team, and everybody on tonight.
Thank you, Peter, and thank you for everybody that helps out in the background. All the coaches, we appreciate all of you. I mean, y'all are always answering our questions as soon as we send them in. So, can never thank you enough. Appreciate it.
All right, you're so welcome. All right, everyone. Like I mentioned before, I'm on vacation, so I'm getting back to vacation. I got to put a shirt and tie on tonight, and go ahead and take my wife out for a nice dinner. So everyone, thank you so much. And what I'm going to do next is I'm going to play a video that I really want you to watch. Okay, videos that can share more of ideals about our company. That's going to get started right now. So go ahead and watch this video.